The shrieks of human children echoed through the alien ship as cruel Lemnorian claws dragged them from cryo-sleep pods to be used as pawns in a sick plan to crush humanity's defiance. But the aliens were about to learn the hard way. Don't fuck with human kids. In a dimly lit chamber on the Lemnorian warship, two figures argued. The taller one, Vortis, paced with fury, his clawed hands flexed. The humans insult us, Xyloth. Upstarts on our doorstep, making demands of the mighty Lemnorian Empire. They say we violated their rights with our minds on Theta Sigma 9, the Gaul. Xyloth tapped a datapad, confused. Our scans showed no intelligent life there. How could we know? Irrelevant, Vortis snarled. These primitives need a lesson in humility, and I know how to teach it. A cruel smile split his face. We strike at their children, seize them as hostages until the humans submit. That's extreme, sir. Surely diplomacy. Diplomacy with humans? Vortis looked at Xyloth like he'd sprouted a second head. They only understand force. Muster an assault team, hit their colony, take their young, and if the humans don't bow, their children pay in blood. But, as the aliens schemed, they failed to grasp a fundamental truth. Threatening a human child awakens something primal and unrelenting in their species, an instinct to protect their young at any cost. In targeting the innocent, the Lemnorians were about to trigger a fury like they had never known, a human wrath that would chase them to the ends of the universe. For each hair harmed on a child's head, rivers of alien blood would flow. The Lemnorians thought themselves the greatest power in the galaxy. They were about to learn how wrong they were. May the gods have mercy on them, because humanity sure as hell wouldn't. On Theta Sigma 9, Aaron King sat in his living room, his eyes glued to the news broadcast flickering on the screen. His weathered face was etched with barely contained rage as he watched the report on the Lemnorian incursion. The door creaked open and his teenage son Ethan poked his head in. "Dad, what's going on?" Aaron's voice was tight as he explained. "Those damn Lemnorians think they can just waltz in and take whatever they want. No regard for our sovereignty or our rights. And now they've gone too far. They've taken children hostage." Ethan's eyes widened in shock. "Children? Why would they do that?" Aaron shook his head, his expression grim. "To try and force us to submit to their demands. They think they can bully us into compliance by threatening our most vulnerable." He stood up, his fists clenched at his sides. "But they've underestimated us. They don't know the lengths we'll go to protect our own." Ethan looked at his father, a mix of fear and determination in his young eyes. "What are we going to do, Dad?" Aaron placed a heavy hand on his son's shoulder. "We're going to show them what happens when you mess with human children. I'm going to lead a rescue mission to get those kids back, and I'm going to make sure the Lemnorians never forget the consequences of their actions." He strode over to a locked cabinet and punched in a code. The doors swung open, revealing an array of weapons. Aaron began selecting items, checking each one over with practiced efficiency. As he worked, he spoke, his voice low and intense. "I've fought in my share of battles, seen the worst the galaxy has to offer. But I never thought I'd see the day when someone would stoop so low as to target children. The Lemnorians have no idea what they've unleashed. When humanity is backed into a corner, when our children are threatened, there's nothing we won't do to protect them." He turned back to Ethan, his expression fierce. "Stay here and look after your mother and sister. I'll be back soon with those kids, and the Lemnorians will rue the day they ever thought they could fuck with human children and get away with it." On the Lemnorian warship's bridge, Vortis and Xyloth watched in stunned disbelief as the view screen filled with a swarm of human ships hurtling towards them. The panicked chatter of bridge officers filled the air as they scrambled to assess the rapidly evolving situation. Vortis gripped the console, his knuckles white with tension. "This is impossible," he hissed. "The humans should be cowering in fear, begging for their children's lives. Not this." Xyloth, his face pale, turned to Vortis. "Sir, we've gravely miscalculated. The humans, they're not reacting as we anticipated." "Clearly," Vortis snapped, his eyes never leaving the screen. "But why? Why would they risk everything, even their own lives, for a handful of children? An officer called out from his station, his voice tight with fear. "Sir, the human ships are not slowing down. They're on a collision course with our shields." Vortis slammed a fist against the console. "Evasive maneuvers. Bring all weapons to bear on those ships." The Lemnorian warship lurched as it attempted to reposition, its weapons firing a barrage at the oncoming human vessels. But the humans, displaying a terrifying disregard for their own safety, ploughed forward undeterred. Ship after ship slammed into the warship's shields, each impact rocking the massive vessel. Xyloth gripped his chair, his eyes wide with a dawning realization. They are sacrificing themselves to weaken our shields, to get to their children. Vortis shook his head in disbelief. This is madness, utter madness. No sane species would behave this way. As more human ships pounded the weakening shields, Xyloth turned to Vortis, his voice grave. "Sir, I fear we have awoken something in the humans, a primal fury we cannot hope to comprehend or control." Vortis could only stare at the view-screen, transfixed by the relentless onslaught of the human ships. In that moment, he realized the terrible truth. In threatening the human children, they had unleashed a force far more formidable than any weapon in the Lemnorian arsenal. They had unleashed the unrelenting, unstoppable wrath of human parents fighting for their young. The bridge shuddered under another impact, alarms blaring as Vortis and Xyloth exchanged a look of growing horror, the magnitude of their error dawning upon them with each passing second. In the detention block, Kreshik and Vrax stood rigid, their faces etched with growing unease. The muffled sounds of distant explosions and alarms echoed through the corridors, a chilling reminder of the chaos unfolding beyond the cell walls. Kreshik's voice wavered as he spoke. "Vrax, this is getting out of hand. The humans, they're not backing down. They're throwing everything they have at us, all for these children." Vrax nodded grimly, his eyes fixed on the defiant faces of the young captives. "I've never seen anything like it. The way they fight, the risks they take, it's like they're possessed by some primal force." The boy who had spoken earlier, the one who identified himself as Aaron King's son, stepped closer to the force field, separating the children from their captors. His eyes blazed with a fierce intensity that belied his youth. "You still don't get it, do you?" he said, his voice steady and clear. "This is what humans do. This is who we are. When you threaten our families, when you put our children in danger, there's no limit to what we'll do to protect them." Kreshik shook his head in disbelief. But surely there must be a point where self-preservation takes over, where the costs become too high, the risks too great." The boy smiled, a grim, knowing expression. "You'd think so, wouldn't you? But that's not how it works with us. The more you push us, the harder we push back. The more you try to break us, the stronger we become. It's in our blood, in our bones. It's what makes us human." Vrax swallowed hard, a bead of sweat trickling down his brow. "Kreshik, I think we've made a terrible mistake. We thought we could control them, use their children as leverage, but we've only unleashed something we can't possibly contain." Kreshik's hand trembled as it hovered near his weapon. What do we do, Vrax? How do we stop this?" Vrax shook his head slowly, a haunted look in his eyes. "I don't think we can, Kreshik. I think we've started something that won't end until either we're destroyed or they have their children back." The boy's voice rang out once more, filled with a chilling certainty. "You should listen to your friend Kreshik. He's right. You've unleashed a storm you can't control, a storm named humanity, and it won't stop, not until we're safe, and you're nothing but a memory." Kreshik and Vrax stood in silence, the weight of their actions bearing down upon them like a suffocating force. The distant sounds of battle grew louder, closer, a relentless drumbeat of human determination. And in that moment, the two Lemnorians realized the terrible truth. They had not captured helpless children. They had caged the beating heart of an unstoppable species, a species that would tear the universe apart to protect its own. The boy's eyes burned into them, a promise and a warning all in one. "My father is coming, they're all coming, And when they get here, may your gods have mercy on you, because we sure as hell won't." The acrid stench of burnt circuitry and smouldering metal filled the bridge of the crippled Lemnorian warship. Vortis and Xyloth stood amidst the wreckage, their uniforms torn and scorched, their faces etched with the horror of their defeat. Vortis gazed out at the debris field that had once been their mighty fleet, now reduced to twisted fragments drifting in the void. His voice was a hoarse whisper, barely audible over the hiss of ruptured conduits. "We were so wrong, Xyloth. So very, very wrong." Xyloth nodded, wincing as he touched the deep gash on his forehead, sticky with congealed blood. "We underestimated them. We thought they were weak, primitive. We thought we could control them through fear and intimidation." "We were fools," Vortis said, shaking his head. "We didn't understand what we were dealing with, the depths of their love, their loyalty, their fierce determination to protect their own." He turned to Xyloth, his expression grim, his eyes haunted by the weight of their failure. "We've paid a heavy price for our arrogance. Our ship is lost, our crew decimated, our pride shattered beyond repair." Xyloth met his gaze, a flicker of fear in his eyes. "What do we do now, sir? How do we face the Emperor, the Council, after such a devastating defeat?" Vortis was silent for a long moment, the weight of their failure bearing down on him like a physical force. "We don't," he said finally, his voice a hoarse whisper. "We can't go back, Xyloth. Not after this. The shame, the humiliation, it would be too much to bear." He reached into his uniform, his fingers closing around a small metallic object, a Lemnorian self-termination device. Xyloth's eyes widened in shock as Vortis pulled it out, the dim light of the bridge glinting off its polished surface. "So you can't be serious. Suicide, that's not the Lemnorian way." Vortis smiled sadly. "Neither is admitting defeat, but sometimes, old friend, it's the only choice we have left." He looked out at the stars, at the distant glimmer of human ships returning to their colony victorious. "Let this be a lesson to our people, Xyloth, a cautionary tale for all who would dare to underestimate the power of a species that values its children above all else." He raised the device to his temple, his finger hovering over the trigger. "We fucked with the wrong species, Xyloth, and now we pay the ultimate price." Xyloth opened his mouth to protest, but it was too late. Vortis pressed the trigger, and in a blinding flash of light, he was gone, his body disintegrating into a cloud of ash that drifted on the recycled air of the bridge. Xyloth stared at the spot where his commander had stood just moments before, a sense of profound loss and despair washing over him. He knew he should follow suit, take the honorable way out, but something stopped him, a tiny, nagging voice in the back of his mind, urging him to live, to learn from this catastrophic mistake. He staggered to the bridge's escape pods, his mind reeling, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what he must do. He would return to Lemnoria, to the Council, and deliver a message they would not want to hear. A message of warning, of caution, of the terrible price of underestimating humanity. He would bear the shame, the disgrace, so that others may learn from their folly, so that no other Lemnorian would ever make the mistake of fucking with human children again. As he climbed into the escape pod, he took one last look at the shattered remains of his ship, his crew, his commander. A testament to the hubris of a species that thought itself invincible, a stark reminder of the truth they learned too late. Don't fuck with human children, ever. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.